Peace, my family. Man, they lied to us about reality. And once we begin to really see reality for what it really is, the truth of it all is when your life really begins. You see, you begin to get more of the knowledge of yourself and the world around you, this planet, what this all really is. Once you begin to start awakening to the lies and gaining more facts of life, man, that will enrich your soul. It's all about getting back to the real you. And it's beyond personality. It's beyond desires. It's beyond fears. It's beyond name, form. It's beyond body. It's beyond intellect. We must understand that our true nature and its essence, our soul, is the real you. And once we begin to feed it more and less of, the flesh is always calling you to do things that are not good for your soul. Constantly keeping the spirit ill. When we begin to really face life for what it really is, the way the Most High truly created it all, and your part in it all, because we all are a part of the all, life will begin to get beautiful. Realizing that everything that you've been focusing on in this reality has been leading you toward self-destruction. It teaches you, to destroy yourself with all around you, what you tune into, all feeding the mind useless information that is no need for your existence whatsoever. In these days and times, it's going to help you evolve, expand your mind, and get to that state that the Most High really wants you to be in, where He can begin to connect and communicate with you. But how can that happen if you're so into the world, which we were warned about? This is once I was told, remember, I was told this: you are too worldly. Check that out, right? When you begin to get trapped into the world and they're looking at you like, wake up, this is not real. Life is only a dream, but it seems so real, right? Words from a master teacher. You must understand that this life is not really what you think it is. It's here to really test you and, trap your soul here in the same. And once you realize and you begin to learn how to pass your tests by detaching from things that is really not you, right? From people, places, and things that, lead you down a path you got no business going. When you begin to understand that life, it is a right path to go down, right? And of course, you're going to learn many lessons the hard way if you do not continue to listen to what the Most High says. When you begin to ask, the power of when you begin to ask questions to the Most High, when you begin to speak it out, when you begin to write it with the pencil, when you begin to really see things for what they really are, not what you want to create it in your mind for it to be. When you begin to get what the Most High has for you, the tools that you need to conquer this world, you're going to need that spiritual soul food. You're going to need those pamphlets of peace. I like to call it spiritual soul food for community. That's what it was for me. That's what it was. That's what I needed. I need to know how this all works, right? And why it was needed for us to, really live in this state. But how are we really living, right? And the knowledge of ourselves, we find out that life is not like really living. You're really preparing to transcend, right? Ascend, right? Really preparing for that. And where you go will determine what where you go will determine, a lot, because it's what you did here will determine where you go next. And it's very important that people realize it, because nowadays I'm sure that a lot of people don't even feel like, the Most High exists. And it's anything after this, right? Do y'all know that it is? I know that it is. Wanna know how I know? Because the Most High showed me. One moment. The Most High can show you too. And this is why I'm here to tell you that the experiences and things that I went through on this good journey within is real. And again, I'm sharing this because I know many other may have had experiences walking through this life and experiencing a lot of other things too. So it's very important that we begin to really seek the kingdom first, because that's where it all began for me. When I began to question my purpose, realizing that at the time for me, it wasn't nothing that really stuck out to me, that I felt like, oh, I wanted to do this. It wasn't like that for me. It was just me questioning what it is that I really want to do in this world. And that question alone is what started my journey. Me wondering what my purpose was here, and me literally asking the Most High, like, what is my purpose? That's simple. And once I began to ask those questions and wanting the Most High to reveal that to me, is when things started aligning and people started coming into my life that I didn't realize at the time was leading me toward my purpose. Remember, it's all about when you begin to ask. And then it starts that seeking process. Because it wasn't like I was just like really, seeking it like that. I was just, going with life, right? Whatever that was presented to me and things that I like to do, that's what I was doing. But know that I wanted to know what my purpose was. And once I began to ask, that's when everything began to come together in time. And this is years, right? But know that, I was raised in Christianity. So I always had like a background of that. So, I realized that when I was doing the fasting period when I was younger was when I actually, heard clearly from an angel, right, that was telling me something and I heard it clear as day. And it's nothing, nothing like that. It was just, you heard the voice. And at the time, this is when I was needing to fast. And it was just a soft voice, nothing calming, right? And I realized that when I was fasting, that's when things begin to happen, because that's when I was able to start hearing. And I realized the more that I fasted, the better I was able to hear spiritually. And when you begin to hear things that's coming from, the Most High, when it's in alignment with what you're doing, and it's exactly what you need, when you're hearing something good, right? Something that's beneficial for you in your life. And something that is helping you with what you're experiencing at that particular time. So fasting is good because it speeds you up, it speeds your vibrations up, and once you begin to do that, you begin to connect. Now, everybody has their ways of fasting, what they choose to fast from, and it's a beautiful thing when you begin to, in a way, that's how you also disconnect and detach from the world. You know, slowly but surely, less of tuning into the things that keep you, you know, in your mind programmed on certain things. Constantly listening to the television, which tells lies to your vision, and you're not focusing in on, you know, the gift, the present, and what's around you, and what you got to work on within you. You're definitely your weaknesses and your strengths and things that you know deep down within yourself. I can work on that a little bit more. And it's about slowly making goals for yourself and making a plan for yourself to start conquering little things. And once you begin to do that, that's what helps you to build and boost your confidence up when you begin to know and get your wins, right? And it's little small things like, you know, instead of, you know, buying some, you know, for me, it was food. You know, I was a foodie and, you know, still quite am. You know, I do like the foods. But again, when you realize the foods nowadays are out here trying to, you know, put you in the grave, right? You gotta realize that there's certain things that you can no longer do no more. And at the end of the day, you realize that you're supposed to keep your temples clean and purify your soul. And that's a part of it by making sure that your body, your temple, gets what it needs to have its proper food. So again, you can keep your mind right, get your mind right. Because your mind becomes, you know, chaotic and, you know, lulu, right? When you begin to not, you know, feed your mind properly and feed your body properly, right? So your mind and your brain can function properly. That's why it's very important to have healthy foods, because again, whether, you know, of course you're always getting the best of the best, right? But again, if you don't have access to that right now, just making sure you're grabbing some fruits and vegetables is the best way you know how, and just, you know, making sure you're incorporating that into your life. That is a part of it. That's a part of raising your frequencies and vibrations, regardless. And I'm not gonna sit here and say that, you know, I always had organic and stuff like that. I, you know, pick up anything that I can get from, you know, the market and stores and stuff like that, where, you know, I just get what I need to get. And I still got to where I needed to be when I'm raising my frequencies and vibrations. So don't get discouraged when you feel like, oh, I don't have access to, you know, certain things, because again, we got to stop saying that, because again, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just saying, because this is my experience, it didn't matter for me as far as when I, you know, was eating, you know, fruits and vegetables from the stores and things like that, because at the end of the day, I still was able to raise my frequencies and vibrations. Now, preferably, of course, you know, making sure you, if you can, grow your foods, because that's the best of the best when you can, you know, be self-sufficient and grow your food. That's what it is. But for me, and that's where I am today, you know, I still, you know, bought stuff in the market, bought stuff from the stores and things like that. So even though, you know, that's not like, you know, the best of the best, all right, we know this. But again, this is right now from where I'm at in my journey, have access to it this time. So, or, you know, it is what it is right now with what I got going on. So I just gotta get it right now how I can. But either way, you just make sure that you out here taking care of yourself. And that's what the Most High wants. The Most High wants you to take care of yourself. And once you begin to put the Most High first in your life, where you don't care about what nobody has to say, all you care about is what the Most High says. And the one appointed unto Jesus, Joshua, Timothy, Taurus, root, right? The one appointed, listening and walking in his ways, right? That is all that matters, really. And once you begin to truly understand who you are as, moving up into your godhood family as gods and goddesses, you begin to really see things for what they truly are, right? In life and yourselves. So again, as, multidimensional beings, as extraterrestrial celestial beings, children of the Anunnaki, children of the Neteru, children of the Elohim, we are all one family. All over the planet, family, yes. All over the planet. They like to, play this thing where it's, we're all, in a sense, divided and things like that. Anciently, we are all one. And once we begin to see this, all different names and different titles are all parts of the world, but when it comes down to who we are and how we are created, we are all one. And mixed in all, we are all one, right? So the thing about it is, when it comes to that, it's about making your seed line stronger, and it's about not diluting the seed. So it's about mating with your own, right? And this is not racist. This is just, it is what it is when it comes to our makeup. And again, we must understand that that's what the Most High says, right? Once we begin to get back to what the Most High says and eliminating our opinions on things that truly we know nothing about when it comes to creation and how things work in the boundless universes, right? That the Most High has created. And the only way you can really know is when you get messages or messengers that come and let you know about, life and what this, quantum world, universe is all about, divine intelligence, right? The all, right? Okay. Once you begin to see the source, the Most High, and you begin to really see that whatever name we would like to choose and call, we are all one. And it's a beautiful thing when you begin to really realize these things, because that's where that love really starts to come in. Because once you actually realize that, existence is love, and life and existence and even being here, the reason why you're here is because the Most High is creating the beings that will procreate us, right? The Anunnaki, right? And once you begin to see that, this is very important, that you begin to get back in the ways of the universes and how we were taught anciently, because it's about purity and it's about taking care of yourselves. You think you want them, you think the Most High wants you out here suffering and crying and all of the things that we constantly continue to keep doing to ourselves. And we realize that we ourselves within have the power we need to regulate our reality when it comes to having responsibility for our choices and actions and what we choose to do on a day-to-day basis. That will help us to stay in tune. And that's what's about getting in alignment. You have to learn how to stay in tune with the ways of the universes. One moment. Now, how you can get back in tune is really the simple things, right? The things that sometimes we take for granted, right? By the little things that, by having water, right? Making sure that you're drinking your water. Your body is made up of 70%, 75% of water. Making sure you're having your water. Making sure that you're taking care of yourself as far as the food you eat. Making sure you're exercising out here. Making sure that you're feeding your soul. Making sure that you're making sure how you feed your soul. How do you feed your soul? You feed your soul by having the knowledge of yourself. The right knowledge, right? You begin to raise your frequencies, right? In that way, all of that, with all those proper things that you do, have a dynamic existence, right? By getting the mind right, is taking care of your spirits and soul. So once you begin to see this by, adding these things to your life daily, by doing proper meditation, by making sure you're keeping positive thoughts and positive prayer, by you just making sure that you live in a life of integrity and honesty, and that you live in a life of love and sharing, helping people, and you're giving back, and you're sharing your wisdom, and you're just doing things for the good, for your highest good, and spreading that love. All of it is to raise your frequency, to move you on up into the love frequency, and learning how to maneuver life in a way where you see things for what they are, and you don't try to let that bring you down, or bring you down to lower frequency levels where you get irritated, to where you get stagnant and you don't do nothing. Now, the periods of the journey, trust me, now you're gonna have moments where you're not gonna feel like doing anything. You're gonna have moments where you're gonna get mad. You're gonna have, like I said before, you're gonna express a lot of different emotions on this journey. But the key thing is to never give up. Go through those experiences, but remember, always get back to your true self. Always get back to the Most High, right? No matter what you experience on this journey, because the journey is raw. You're going to experience a lot of different experiences depending on what you have going on in your reality. And how you begin to maneuver it, right? You got to make sure that you're creating that paradise where you create your peace, right? And that's from within. You making sure that you're taking care of yourself, taking care of your mental, taking care of your spiritual, taking care of your emotional self, right? Once you begin to do these things, everything else will begin to fall into place for you. And you say, like, wow, this seems real simple, right? It does sound this way, right? You would think it sounds simple, right? The garden sounds simple. The garden, it sounds simple. That's what you're creating within your life, a garden, right? That is growing that time, right? The garden. And once you begin to see that that's what you're moving toward, ascension and eternal life, and yes, you're living to die, right? But it's all because you're moving on to the higher life or lighter form of existence. So it's a beautiful thing, but you have to make sure that while you're walking this path and living this life, you're going to have those temptations. You're going to have things in your life that is, again, try to get in your way of, like, living the way that the Most High wants you to live, and that's where the journey, like, starts to get a little, the setting of traps, things like that. All of these things you see around you, right? And that's what's going to determine, how you go about your journey and how far you get along there. Because, again, you just can't get, key thing is, you just can't get stuck on certain things. You can dwell on certain things for a minute, get to a point where you're done. And once you begin to get to that point where you're done, okay, I'm done with this cycle. I'm done with this time. I'm done with this time. I'm done. When you get to level up in the next one, right? Then, again, you begin to, like, see, okay, this is what's been holding me back. You're going to realize through the journey that a lot of things that you focus on that you think is just like one moment, things that you really just, can't let go of, right? That's where it's like the journey just seems like you can't let go of things. But once you actually do, you're going to realize that why I didn't let go of this long ago. I'm just saying. Man, oh man. Peace, my family. My background is lit right now. life.